very warm welcome to the Camnet TV Breakfast Show. This is the Friday, and of course, we are counting down to the weekend. I know a lot of excitement there after having quite a week. We all expect to have a weekend where we can rest and spend time with family. This is a breakfast show, and of course, we are discussing a very important topic this morning. I am your host, Prudence Chota, and we'll have quite a number of things that we'll be discussing, and a wonderful discussion in the next 1 hour and some minutes. Remember, the aspect of cooperatives in Zambia, are they really sustainable in our country? I know a lot of people are being told by the now government to say, in order for you to access resources, ensure that you join a cooperative. But the question that we should be asking ourselves, is this sustainable? I know we've had reports of people claiming that some of those who've benefited in these CDF resources have really nothing to show off. The question that we should be asking ourselves is, why has this been the case? Are we doing it the right way, or are we doing it the wrong way? What is it that we need to do to ensure that this aspect becomes successful? In some countries, this is actually working to their good. But in Zambia, what is it that we are doing wrong that we cannot even have something to point at? 1 year, pardon me, of the United Party for National Development in office.
Hello. I'm your boy Harrison, aka the Fitness Papi, once again, and we are here at Chonzi Fitness Gym, and today we are going to do spinning for probably 5 minutes or 4 minutes. Okay, we can go. You have to insert here. Make sure that the foot is wrapped around the belt. Then you now start. Okay. So the benefit of spinning, it actually helps boost up your metabolism, and it also helps your cardiovascular system. And physical benefits, can tell it also helps you with the calves, the legs. Okay. So we go. Since I have less time, so I'm going to just speed up things. So I'm going to harden here my adjustive knob. Then I stand. Take it slowly. Take it slowly. So this kind of movement helps the gut muscles here, and when you take it down, it helps your calves here. Let's go. So take it slowly, slowly. Okay, then I loosen my adjustive knob. I sit down again. So you can also do a full body workout while having a stationary bike, but I'm not encouraging for those who have the bikes, the normal transportation bikes. Yeah, but if you have a stationary bikes, you can also do a full body workout. Okay, here we go. So start with the back squeeze. Back squeeze. Okay. So from there you can go to side to side. Just go like this. Okay. So this one really helps the shoulders here. Okay. Then from here you can go to one hand raise. Let's go. This kind of movement also helps you in your shoulders. Keep going. Okay, then from there, you harden your adjustive knob. Then you stand again, all the way. Stretch your legs. Stretch your legs. Keep going. Stretch it up. Stretch it up. Stretch it up. Stretch the abs, and we can call it a wrap. Okay, guys. Then after here, you can just stretch. Okay, then you come this side. Do a stretch. Okay. From here, you do your back stretch. I mean your what is your chest stretch? Okay, then you tap your toe here, order. Do your back stretch. Okay, and we are done with our workout. Remember, it's about your health. You've been with me, Harrison, aka the Fitness Papi, here at Chonzi Fitness Gym. Bye-bye.
That was our morning boost for this morning. I hope you have exercised along with us. Sincere apologies there. We had a disruption in our transmission just before we went into our morning boost. Speaking about morning boost, we are also going to go to the health corner just to see what the doctors have for us this morning. Remember, your health is your wealth. Do exercise in the morning. In the evenings, if you can't do it in the morning, exercising is very important. It keeps your blood flowing at a faster rate, thereby helping you prevent cholesterol diseases such as, diabetes and stuff like that. So if you are having challenges in your health, not even when you're having challenges, if you want to remain a healthy people, remember to exercise. Then also we have the doctors' corners where the doctors bring a lot of important topics of discussion. I know out there, for those who watch Camnet TV, there are certain aspects that you want the doctor to discuss about on this program. You can send us those topics and we will be able to forward them to the doctors so that when they come on this show, they can answer some of the questions that you have with regards to certain illnesses. As Camnet TV, we care for you. That's why we bring you these programs this morning. We bring you the morning boost, but we don't just end there. We also go into the medical circles just to look at what the doctors have to say on particular illnesses. So right about now, let's see what the doctors have to say this morning.
Hi, welcome to today's health segment on the breakfast show. I am Dr. Nakbienamfaya. So this week we have been talking about diabetes and we have discussed so many things about diabetes. Just to talk about some of the things that we have highlighted this week is that diabetes is a condition where there is elevated blood sugar in the body. And this comes about because your pancreas might not be producing enough insulin, which helps to take up the glucose from your blood, or your muscles are not, or your cells are not taking up the insulin or the glucose from your blood. And so you end up having an elevated or high blood sugar. We also talked about the signs and symptoms. We say that people with diabetes usually present with eating more than they usually do, drinking so much water, and also urinating frequently more than they usually go to the toilets to urinate. The other thing that we talked about is that diabetes has medications that are given to treat the condition, and you need to take these medications almost your entire life, and you have to be consistently taking them to prevent yourself from having complications of diabetes. We also say that you need to have a proper diet that you should be following to prevent you from having elevated blood sugars. You also need to be physically active every day. So yesterday we talked about the complications of diabetes, and we say that diabetes can affect many organs in the body, including your heart, your brain, your kidneys, even your eyes and your nerves. So be sure to take your medications and prevent yourself from having complications of diabetes, because they can be so deadly, and they can even cause death if not treated or managed well. So today we'll talk about how you can prevent yourself from having diabetes. First, I would like to mention that there are many risk factors for diabetes, and some of the risk factors include your weight, that is obesity. So if you are obese, you are more likely to have diabetes. things like your diet causes risk on you having diabetes. So if you eat a lot of sugary things and you are not eating foods that have more fiber, foods that have a lot of nutrition and protein, then you are more likely to also have diabetes. If you are not being active, you're not exercising, you are mostly seated, whether it's at work or at home, you are also increasing your chances or your risk of having diabetes. The other risk factors include smoking. So if you smoke, you are increasing your chances of having diabetes. And also alcohol intake. So if you take alcohol, you are also at risk of having diabetes. So how you can prevent yourself from having diabetes is by having a healthy lifestyle. So by that we mean you need to be eating healthy, you need to be exercising. So when we say eating healthy, you need to eat foods that have a lot of fiber, you need to eat foods that are nutritious, foods that have protein, to prevent yourself from having diabetes. So you need to eat foods that are good for your body and not eating junk food and eating foods that have a lot of fat. So this will help to prevent diabetes. The other thing that you can do to prevent diabetes is by exercising. So when you exercise, your muscles are active, your cells are active, and so they take up more glucose. That way, your body is not having elevated amounts of glucose for a prolonged period of time. Because over time, when there's too much glucose in your blood, it means your cells will become insensitive to the glucose, and so you end up having insulin resistance. So it's important that you exercise. The other thing you can do to prevent diabetes is to stop smoking. Smoking is a risk factor for so many diseases. So if you can be able to stop smoking, that would be beneficial for your health. It will not only prevent you from having diabetes, but so many other conditions as well, like hypertension, heart diseases, lung diseases, liver diseases. So be sure to reach out to somebody that can help you to stop smoking if you are a smoker. The other thing that you can do is to limit your alcohol intake. If you take too much alcohol, you are at risk of having diabetes and also other complications, including liver conditions, heart diseases. So it's important that you limit how much alcohol you're taking. And if you're able to stop taking alcohol, then that would be even better for you. So these are some of the ways that you can prevent yourself from having diabetes. If you are somebody that is overweight and you have more weight, or you are obese, then you need to be exercising to lose some weight. So there's a difference between exercising to just keep healthy and exercising to lose weight. You need to be able to, if you're obese, you need to lose some weight. If you're not obese, you still need to exercise. Even if you're not overweight, you still need to exercise and keep healthy and prevent yourself from having not only diabetes, but even so many other diseases as well. So this has been the talk for this week. We have talked about diabetes and how you can prevent it and how it's managed and how you can manage your diabetes even while you're at home. So thank you so much for watching this week's show. I do hope you have learned something, and make sure that you go to the clinic to check your blood sugars. Even if you're not yet diabetic, you need to be able to go to the clinic and check your blood sugar on a regular basis so that you can know that how much sugar you have and you know that you are not diabetic. So stay healthy and stay well. Make sure that you eat healthy and make sure that you exercise. Thank you for watching.
There you have it. That was the topic of discussion this morning with our doctors. Remember, diabetes is an illness that has killed a number of people without even really understanding. Others have even died without knowing that they have the condition, while others do have it, but they don't follow the right prescription on how to go about living with this kind of illness. Anything in this country, any illness sometimes, not always, but sometimes, it is manageable if at all you follow the instructions that have been given by health practitioners. So that's why this morning we were discussing that particular topic, and I hope we have learned one or two things with regards to that. So moving on now, about this morning, we are going to look at the money market. How is it that our local currency is faring against other major convertibles? Remember, this is a very important topic when it comes to how the local currency is performing against other major convertibles. Zambia is an import-dependent country. We import almost everything from a comb that you use to clean your hair to that small needle that you use to do your clothes when they are torn. We import all that. Imagine, to toothpicks. Sometimes we even go as far as importing toothpicks when we have a lot of trees in this country. Others that are even being used now for the cutting down of charcoal and other stuff like that. So we are an import-dependent country, and when our local currency is not performing well against other major convertibles, we become affected, and this is what we are seeing now. The kwacha is under pressure. I hope our stakeholders, the Ministry of Finance there, the Bank of Zambia, and everyone involved is going to see how is it that they can make things work for the better of the Zambian people. So our money market is next on this segment, where we are going to see how is it that we are performing against other major convertibles. Quite disappointing there. The kwacha this morning is buying at 18 kwacha 20 ngwe and selling at 18 kwacha 56 ngwe. There is a lot of pressure on our local currency. The Zambian kwacha against the euro is buying at 19 kwacha 66 ngwe and selling at 20 kwacha 05 ngwe. The Zambian kwacha against the South African rand is buying at 1 kwacha 08 ngwe and selling at 1 kwacha 11 ngwe. The Zambian kwacha against the Great British Pound is buying at 22 kwacha 20 ngwe and selling at 22 kwacha 63 ngwe. That is our money market for this morning. 18 kwacha 20 ngwe there against the United States dollar, 1 kwacha 08 ngwe there against the South African rand. Remember, last year Zambia was one of the best performing currencies, and a lot of praises there was done to the United Party for National Development Administration from a lot of stakeholders with regards to how they had managed the economy, because we saw the local currency perform better against other major convertibles. But the question that we are now asking is, what is it that we've not been doing that our local currency has now begun to depreciate? Remember, if this continues, the price of goods and commodities will easily go up in the country. And the sad part is, when the price of commodities go up, even when the local currency will actually begin to perform better, prices usually do not go down. I don't know what economics or matrix applies, but you will realize that when there is a spark in anything in the economy, the price easily shoots. For businesses, they don't care about anything but making profits. They want to sustain their business, so they'll shoot. But when the opposite happens, it's almost impossible to see the price of goods and commodities start going down. So we need our stakeholders to move in and see how they can cushion this impact to ensure that businesses do not take advantage of the depreciation of our local currency and begin to hike the price of goods and commodities. Remember, if this is the case for 3 months after a period of 1 month from now, because the currency started depreciating in December, this is January. If we go to February, come what May, March, there is a probability that we might see the price of certain commodities begin to go up. So we wish our government and any stakeholder involved in this all the best. And of course, today, the Minister of Finance is holding a stakeholders engagement meeting. I hope some of these questions can be answered by the Minister of Finance. For the media that will be attending, these are some of the questions that we should focus on. There is pressure on our local currency. What is contributing to this? And how is it that our authorities are mitigating this impact to ensure that we go back to where we were? Remember, last year we were one of the best performing currencies in the country. So hopefully the Minister of Finance this morning will respond to some of these questions, including some pertinent issues that are happening in our economy. If you're watching this program and you have a question, perhaps maybe we can ask that on your behalf. Send those questions through to either our Facebook page or our text message line, and we'll be able to pick up those questions and ask the Minister of Finance this morning to just try to respond to some of those pertinent issues that you want answers to. Remember, when you vote for a member of parliament, when you put the UPND government in office, you are their boss, and you've got the right to question what is it that they are doing. They need you. That's why they come to kneel when they're asking for a vote. Why? You are their employee, and you are their employers, actually, and you are their bosses. So you've got the right to ask, and they've got the right to respond to the questions. This is your country, and you voted them in. So let's get to ask some of those questions. Remember, Minister of Finance this morning has a meeting with stakeholders and, of course, other people. So government, through the Office of the Surveyor General, says it has reproduced adequate copies of the 1958 chiefdom boundary map, as well as a set of the same map, but with enhanced photographic features for easy interpretation of the chiefdom boundaries. Now, we've been having a lot of issues when it comes to boundaries, wrangles with boundaries between chiefdoms. Others have nearly exchanged punches over this issue. Some traditional leaders, as we speak, are enemies over the issues of boundary. So in order to help and put this to an end, government had to reproduce the map. Remember, there is the 1958 map, which they have been following. But because the map was not clear, government has not changed the map. What they've done is they've reproduced it, but with enhanced photographic features for easy interpretation of chiefdom boundaries. So this has been done in order to ensure that boundaries for chiefs are well known. These wrangles of mapu should now come to an end. But even this, though this effort has been made, some of the traditional leaders yesterday still were not in agreement with the new map, the same one they've been using, on argument that the surveyors who actually came up with that map did not go on the ground. They were just in their offices and they started putting up coordinates. So up to now, others are still debating that if we follow this map, it means part of their chiefdom or part of their people will now be cut and belong to other traditional leaders. Quite an important submission there, but I know government is equally doing the best to ensure that they bring these wrangles to an end. So we are going to zoom into some of the stories that made headline in our news yesterday, and this is one first story that we are starting with. So let us see what the traditional leaders had to say yesterday when they were met by officials from the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development. Let's zoom into this story that made headline in our news yesterday. Increasing chiefdom boundary disputes has continued to undermine developmental efforts in affected areas and in some cases threaten human life. Some traditional leaders have nearly exchanged punches due to boundary disputes, while others have ended up becoming enemies and exchanged words of cursing. Government, in an effort to bring to an end chiefdom boundary disputes, working with the Surveyor General, has reproduced adequate copies of the 1958 chiefdom boundary map, as well as a set of the same map with enhanced photographic features for easy interpretation of chiefdom boundaries. Ministry of Local Government Permanent Secretary Administration Mambo Hamaundu was represented by House of Chief Clerk Julian Mulenga at a meeting with Royal Highnesses and other stakeholders in Southern Province Thursday, urged traditional leaders to take time to understand the reproduced copies of the 1985 chiefdom boundaries.
By the time we finish distributing this boundary, this chiefdom boundary map, their Royal Highnesses will know where their boundaries start and where their boundaries end, so that these chiefdom boundary disputes will be brought to a bare minimum. And what government has done is to enhance the 1958 chiefdom boundary map by putting topographic features on the map so that the map is easier to read and anybody can understand it.
But some traditional leaders have still opposed the reproduced adequate copy of the 1985 chiefdom boundary map, adding that no government official has ever come on the ground to survey the boundaries.
It was going to be necessary, Mr. Chair. Even the government, the then government, that made the 1958 map could have consulted the villagers, even the chiefs there could have been no problems. Now they were seated in the offices. Then they draw some maps Those maps are tantamount to bring a lot of civil wars.
What we do not know is who was planting those coordinates which you talked about. Who planted them there? Because whoever did that did it wrongly. And now we are telling you that can you do it correctly? And we cannot go back there without a clear answer from you. We cannot live by that map.
So I don't know, you have said, we understood very well, we said this map supersedes. So what do we do in such circumstances when we cannot liaise with each other as chiefs?
Other traditional leaders have, however, supported the initiative and have asked for more time to study the map.
I'm very, very happy. It was first the president announced in the House that the maps were to be distributed. And the minister made a follow-up, and today the government has actually actualized their words. This is a very, very important document, as it has been delaying progress in some parts of our country.
Now the map is very clear. I think we need to put our heads together now and harmonize to see how we can go ahead. Which is, to me and the people of Congo, from now onwards, I think we'll work as a team.
Prudence Chota, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Climate change is currently one of the major global problems, as it has spared no country, Zambia included. As a result of this, food security in many countries is under threat, while people have been displaced in some areas after their homes were destroyed by floods. Despite the dire consequences of climate change, illegal charcoal trade has continued to boom in Zambia, and more so with the introduction of 12 hours load shedding. Illegal charcoal traders have always been at loggerheads with authorities, but many advocates in the climate sector have noted lack of aggression in implementers of the law against this vice. Speaking to Camnet News, charcoal traders at Lusaka's Mutendere market say they have been told to leave the area by the local authority, forcing them to sail under Zesco pylons, which is not safe.
Kutokera kudala na kudala paka la kaunda tenzo kulisa malasha pa nyumba koma unaolendo tidaba kama ti malasha tipisha manyumba wamena za kulisa malasha pa nyumba pake bampo kataito diti kutokera bani mu 19 chani makolo yatu tibado chokulisa malasha pa nyumba isa Steve unaenda kumaza Teresa ni kungono kumapoko kuja era tiyo pa malaiti abazesiko aketi ngape na malaiti. They
have challenged anyone against the trade to provide them with alternatives that will give them high profit, stating that the business is lucrative as there is high demand due to load shedding.
Sidanda ulapangania manasha meni wenzo kamba manasha bafuna kulesa manje bakalesa manasha load shedding iliko bantu bazambo sebenzesa chancha mazambo sebenzesa ndabakufunika balesa chintu nishina bantu bose benzesa baviona na pamene baleka nishi baviona bintu bonse ndabayise manasha omutinamba kudala ndemwe amene naise tisungira bana ndemwe amene tijesera bana benangu bantu ni ma single lady benangu ni mawido benangu ni maofani wankali bana bangono bagulisa manasha pumwe musamyo zambiri maningi tibana baende ku maskulu bana badye bana bate biri bonse benangu bani ma ministers banankala ma ministers through malasha makolo bawo benzogulisa malasha ni yakudala na kudala.
The traders have challenged the government to first create reliable alternative sources of energy on which people would depend on apart from charcoal before any of them are discouraged from this trade. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
There you have it. Those were some of the stories that made headline in our news yesterday. You've seen the one where some traditional leaders actually yesterday were still protesting the decision by government to give them that map, which has now enhanced features for them to know their boundaries. But others have welcomed the initiative and they've asked for time just to study the map so that they easily understand. The question is why traditional leaders have continued to have issues over land boundaries. This has been affecting development in some parts of the chiefdoms, because even when government wants to take development there is a fight between who that particular land belongs to. When this traditional leader issues land to government, the other opposing leader will say that land is in my area and you cannot do that. So this has continued to be a matter of great concern. And then another issue there with regards to charcoal. So some unlicensed charcoal traders in the Sarcasm Tendere market are not willing to stop the trade as it is lucrative and has high demand, especially with the introduction of load shedding. Remember, you cannot tell someone to stop the business they've done for quite some time without providing a solution for them. So I'm sure even as government is looking to ending the indiscriminate cutting down of trees, there has to be a solution for those who've been doing this business for quite some time, if they are to completely do away with such business. And of course, they are saying it's giving them good resources now that there is the aspect of load management that is almost affecting everyone. Before we divert from the topic of discussion this morning, is the cooperative model workable in Zambia? This is the question that we should be asking and we need answers to. So this morning in studio, I am joined by my guest, who's the managing director for SEED, Mr. Simeon Kampata. Sir, good morning.
Good morning, and good morning, viewers.
Good morning. Thank you. It's good to have you on set this morning, discussing, of course, this very important topic, cooperatives, Mr. Simeon. Anyone belonging to the United Party for National Development, you will agree with me that every time you've knocked in on their offices just asking for empowerment, you are told go and register a cooperative so that you can benefit from the 25.7 million that has been given to constituencies. Of course, this year it has been increased to 28.3 million kwacha. So if you want any form of empowerment, go and register a cooperative. Cooperative. This is a song that the UPND has been singing. But the question this morning is this model in Zambia workable? And Mr. Kampata, just to begin our discussion, seed. When people think seed, maybe they'll be thinking you give seed to cooperatives to empower them and start a business. So just to begin our discussion, let's talk a little bit about your organization, SEED. Who are you and what is it that you specialize in?
Is an institution that is on the ground trying to ensure that we inculcate the cooperative movement initiative in Zambia. We are an institution contributions that will be able to make this country, develop, beginning at household level and all the way. We are of the considered view that as an institution, if we come on the ground and ensure that we also contribute more so in the area of capacity building, because we know that it is practically impossible or very difficult to expect a person to do what they do not know, to expect results on things that they do not have full knowledge and understanding, to expect people to begin doing something when there's no one who has oriented them or helped them to understand what is expected from them. So as an organization, as SEED, by the way, SEED is this is just, the name that we chose, because we believe that when you plant a seed, definitely you expect more than a seed. We as an organization, as we begin to interact with the people of Zambia, we believe that the messaging that we have, this interaction will not only end with us, but it will also be able to end with majority of the Zambians who are going to appreciate on the services that we're offering. So what we do, as you've said, we as a cooperative union, we are much more in capacity building, in helping people to understand what is a cooperative, how can we be able to break even as cooperatives in this country. We know that aspects of cooperatives are not new in Zambia. They started during the Kaunda era to where we are now. So the biggest question amidst what you have just said in your introduction, and I know that we'll be able to we'll be able to discuss more on these issues, is to be able to understand and say, is the cooperative movement workable in Zambia? I think the response there is yes, it is workable. And we are proud, we as an institution, that we have this cooperative, issue that is being discussed in our country. And I can assure you that in the next, coming year or the other, I think that people now will begin to talk about benefits that have come. You see, issues of impact are not issues that come just there and then. But the most important thing for us, we are dwelling so much on making people to understand what a cooperative is. We're dwelling so much on making people to understand that there's actually more that you're supposed to do in the area of cooperatives. And also to mention that I think one of our mandate also is to be able to organize all these cooperatives by bringing them together and see what best we can be able to do together in terms of creating synergies and linkages, in terms of creating opportunities. Those opportunities may be opportunities in the area of machinery or equipment, opportunities in the area of financial literacy and knowledge, in the area of finally, maybe finances, though finances is the end product of what we're advocating for. Because we know we must not only look at finances as a solution to what we would want to do, in the area of cooperatives. I think for now, I can be able to mention in brief that we are an organization that is packaged in this manner, that believes in networking and working with various institutions, even as we get to address the issues of cooperatives. So this is what Seed Cooperative Union is all about.
I know you've spoken on the aspect of a cooperative, and this aspect model has been there since the Kaunda era, as you said, but we've heard it become more prominent and mentioned under the UPND administration because they want to use this as a tool for decentralization and, of course, development of the country. So when we talk about a cooperative, what is it, so that we understand what a cooperative really is exactly, than what we just know, UPND telling us to register a cooperative and begin to benefit from the resources that they are actually being given. So the question that we are asking this morning to you, of course, Mr. Kampata, is what is a cooperative?
Okay, thank you so much, moderator. I think in a nutshell, in its simplicity, a cooperative is basically an association of people, an association of personnel that come together and say, we want to come up with an idea that we as the personnel are going to run with. And this idea is an idea that one cannot be able to run with. Why? Because they may not be good in all aspects. And so when these people identify a problem in a certain location or in a community, they put their energies together and begin to confront, or rather addressing that challenge which they have faced. So a cooperative is basically an association, is basically an entity where people who are like-minded come together and begin to, undertake various type of, activities which they would want to do. And so in that respect, we can simply see that for people to form these cooperatives, it is not just good enough to go and say, I'm forming a cooperative. As people form these cooperatives, they must be able to understand to say, what is it that we want to do? Where there's a problem for someone, there comes a solution for someone else. So where people begin to see that here there's a need to have someone who can be able to come in and begin to do something, then people who are like-minded, one can say the idea and be able to talk to others, and if there's a buy-in, then people can come together and legislate an institution, legislate an entity that is called a cooperative. So basically it is a member-driven entity where people come together and begin to work as a team instead of one person. Why is it that? Because as a team, there are so many benefits that come when you're working as a team. You may have someone who is good at bookkeeping. You may have someone who is good at understanding how to run a business. You may have someone who is good at marketing. You may have someone who is connected in other areas. So when you bring all these expertise together, then at the end of the day, you will have a team that is complete, almost complete, such that it can be difficult for them to fail to manage to do what they want to do. So basically, this is what we can be able to say. what a cooperative is.
Mr. Kampata, you've mentioned a very important aspect there. You say a cooperative is where you bring people together with a common goal because you want to achieve something. So you can be professionals or you're not specialized in this area, but in a particular area. So you come together, you put your skills together to form this cooperative. But the way the cooperatives are being formed under the UPND administration, you know, we've heard there's money. And now everyone is rushing to form a cooperative. You don't even know the strength that each one of you has in that cooperative. Because I've seen incidences where just neighbors, because there's this money, they come together and they say, let's go and apply and get these resources. So do you think the way these cooperatives are being formed is the right way that they are supposed to, or maybe what they just need is capacity building?
Well, what a good question. And I think that these are questions that we need to be able to be discussing in order for us to ensure that we help the people of Zambia to be able to understand. And once they understand, we will not be able to have, you know, all these issues that are being discussed. However, for us, we don't look at these issues that are being discussed as, you know, issues that are of a great concern. I think I must start from that, because we know that one of the reasons why you are seeing people, you know, coming in April, getting to ask for money, demanding for money because they have formed this cooperative, it is an indication that is simply showing that there's a missing link in between. There's something that is not being done right in order to make these people understand. I'll tell you, I think from us, from an economic point of view, every Zambian has a duty to ensure that they contribute towards developing this country. It is not about consumption and receiving. It is about finding a niche, finding an opportunity to be able to do something so that at the end of the day, we develop this. This is our country that we have. And so I think, getting back to your question, one of the things that we have identified and we have seen that there's need, and this need can not only be filled by us as Seed Cooperative Union. I think it is a need that can be filled by so many, you know, stakeholders and players on the market. We'll tell you that one of the things that we have prioritized for this year, 2023, is to be able to lobby, you know, to lobby so many institutions as well as, you know, the government departments and ministry that has the mandate that the issues of cooperatives should now become a philosophical, topical issue. Instead of just letting the Ministry of Small and Medium Enterprise to be able to talk about cooperatives alone. Look, that ministry, you know, is doing what they can, and we appreciate Honorable Muvanga and the team. We appreciate what they are doing. But what we are saying is that the issues of cooperatives are issues that are supposed to be a philosophical issue. So many players need to come on the ground and be able to, you know, talk more about these issues. So how can we be able to make sure that people don't get to start lining up and forming these cooperatives with a pretext of saying, if I form a cooperative, I'm going to receive financing? I think what we need to do much more is to come on board and help these people to understand what a cooperative is. I'll tell you, if we look at the genesis of a cooperative, when it started in the UK in around 1987, somewhere there, why did it begin? It began because there was a challenge which was there. Issues of employment was a much of a concern. So the Rochdale model, when they began, you know, coming up with the issues of cooperatives, you don't read from that literature. That literature is not pointing to us that people were being given money. No. I think that the information that we're getting from there is that people were coming together, putting their resources together, putting their energies together. And then with that, then they begin to realize something from, you know, these coordinated efforts that have been put together. And afterwards, then these people, we were seeing that indeed their livelihoods, in as much as there was economic recession, their livelihoods were being, you know, were being improved. So when we talk about issues of cooperatives, and I can tell you that we as an institutions, we are proud that under the administration of His Excellency, President Hakainde Hichilema, he's been advocating and advising, you know, more especially, you know, the youth, the women, and many more people to form cooperatives. Why? Because, you know, gone are days where, you know, people were believed in working alone. Even in a business setup, you can't do it as an individual. We need to work in clustered groupings. There's an advantage when you're in cluster groupings. Even when support comes, it becomes very easy for you to be identified and to be given any kind of support. I'll tell you, for us, I think that you bear with me that I'll not talk more about money, because my coming here is to be able to help listeners that there's much more that we need to focus on. and concentrate and waste our energies in that area of focus, which is capacity building, and making people understand, even as you form these cooperatives, how should you form these cooperatives? What should be your primary focus, even as you are forming these cooperatives? I'll tell you what has to happen. In fact, is this, that if you want to form a cooperative, first and foremost, before you even go to register that cooperative, you must be able to come together, understand what you want to do, begin to ask yourself, now that we want to form this cooperative, what do you think is the kind of a business that we would want to do? So if you want to think of doing a business in terms of trading, or a business in terms of transportation, or a business in terms of agriculture, that's where we find a lot of cooperatives, by the way. And cooperatives are not only meant for agriculture. I think you know that, by now. So what is it that we can be able to do? When you sit as a team and begin to discuss these issues, then you begin to put your ideas, you begin to put what you have on the table, so that by the time you're coming to get registered, you know, if we want to get into the transport sector, what do we need to do? We need to get a vehicle. Do we have the money to get the vehicle? We do not have the money. How can we be able to get this vehicle as a team? Before you even get legislated, you discuss in that vein, and by the time you're coming to be legislated, you have a clear mandate, you have a clear outline on what you want to do. And if all of us were going to be taking this approach, I don't think that we would have had this disintegrated, kind of questions and, some cooperatives that have been legislated. Once that is done, even as people are coming to be legislated, they have a clear mandate of knowing what they want. And because they know what they want, as they get legislated, they have been legislated so that even as they begin to operate, they will be identified as an institution that meets, the guidelines that the state has put in place. Once that is done, even when you come now, you begin to look at the area of where do we get the money? The money for what? Money for the business that you have said that you want to undertake. Then you will be able to be in a know-how to know exactly what you want to do. The missing gap is that many cooperatives that have been legislated, and we're not blaming them, by the way. We were not actually pointing fingers to say, this is a failure, this is a what. No. For us, we are coming to say, can we be able to identify, tell us, what is your problem? Tell us, what is it that you want to do? And then we sit with those people and begin to help them. It is all about getting to share this information. Just like as you are presenter, you may not be a person of all trade who knows everything. So the message that we have as an institution to these cooperatives is that, please, let's try as much as possible to consult where you think you do not fully understand before you even go and ask for money, because money must be the end of what you want to do.
Not the first priority. Not
the first priority. And I think that look, we here as private sector institution, and we're not government, but I'll tell you that even when government, under the leadership of His Excellency, when they said form cooperatives, I think that perhaps in his mind, he wanted to make us Zambians to begin knowing the benefits of working together. Number two, he wanted to organize us so that at the end of the day, it becomes easier, even when government comes on board, to give that little support which they're supposed to give. Because you are in a clustered grouping, it becomes easier for anyone from anywhere, whether it is government, whether it is any investor or any other player, when they want to come and provide that support, it becomes very easy. Number one, for you to be identified. Number two, to really understand that these people who are organized, even when we help them, will certainly know that the help is not going to drop in an ocean, but I think that it is help that is going to, help these people. I think that you wanted to do that so that with time, we'll begin to improve from where we are coming from to where we are. Look at it. It was during the Kaunda era, isn't it? How many years have passed from the Kaunda era to now, when UPND took government? How many years have passed? And yet we have just started now. Do you think that it is fair for us to begin talking about the issue of cooperatives to be a failed model this early? How many years have passed? Barely less than 2 years, isn't it? Barely 2 years. Can we compare it with all these number of years when the issue of cooperatives was not so much talked about?
Let's talk about the same period you are giving when these issues were introduced from the Kaunda era till now. I know even then attempts were made to form these cooperatives, but the biggest question that we should be asking is, why do you think most cooperatives in Zambia fail? Like, why do they fail? Why has this model failed in the past? And now we've seen it resuscitate under the UPND administration. So what do you think has been the reason why this model has failed?
There are quite a number of reasons, interestingly. And I think that one of the reasons that we can be able to point out at is the aspect of, do people really understand what a cooperative is? That's the first question. Tell me, you can only become a doctor and work in a hospital when you've been trained and certified as a doctor. You can only become, a journalist and be able to, speak to people in a studio the way you're speaking to me, because you're oriented and you know how this is supposed to be done. So I think that one of the reasons is that, yes, in the past, our parents, those who are 60 and above, those who are 50 and above, those who had an opportunity to, to do so much during the time of counter era, I think that they know how cooperatives were effective. I can tell you that it is on record. Cooperatives was actually one of the third highest employer during the time of the counter era. Where have we missed it? I think priorities. We did not prioritize it as an area where we feel that we can be able to benefit. So I think one of the reasons is that people do not really understand what a cooperative is. It's one thing to talk about it, and it's another thing to begin to know how we can be able to operationalize the concept so that at the end of the day, we see the benefits. Number two, why has it failed? I think political will. If there's a political will in whatever you want to do, certainly, I think that a conducive environment, an enabling environment, when it is provided, then you can begin to see that there's improvement in this area. And I think that for now, when we talk about, I like the way you've asked me the question to say, why has it failed? Failed from what time to what time? Is it from the time the UPND government took office to now?
From the counter time, I specifically mentioned.
Up to where we are. I think that if you see that in the counter regime, we had, Super Ken, he really looked at cooperatives as one of the philosophical concepts that can be able to contribute in the area of employment, job creation, in the area of contribution to GDP, and etc. and etc. And because there was that political will, we can be able to read about the great things that happened during the time of counter era. From the counter era, when there was another era that came, after the counter era, was there a political will? I think I'll not be able to answer that. Was there a deliberate effort to ensure that the issues of cooperatives, are being addressed in the same way they were addressed before? So those are the issues that we begin to talk about. And I'm proud to mention that we as an organization, our interest is not to be able to politicize about these issues, moderator. Our interest is to ensure that with this conducive environment that has been presented to the people of Zambia, what is it that we can be able to look at? We are looking at the comparative advantage aspect that is going to help the people of Zambia benefit from this concept. We're not dwelling our energies on the challenges, on the failures, and all that. We are looking at challenges as opportunities where we can be able to learn something from that and begin to talk to the people of Zambia on how they can be able to, to benefit from this, from the concept of the cooperatives. So thirdly, I can also be able to say that I think that we need to come up with institutions such as a cooperative development authority. I think this is what we're asking now to government. This is what we are lobbying for, and I know that there are people that are listening. Why are we asking for this? We are asking for this so that it can be possible now to have a unit that is just looking at how can we ensure that we are promoting issues of cooperatives by presenting opportunities that are going to only benefit these people who are clusters as cooperatives. We will come up with policies and rules that will be able to look at, looking for support that is basically just focused on cooperatives. And that support is not only support in the area of finances. I think that you're trying to see that I'm not leaning so much on money, because it's not about money. Support that should be able to give an opportunity to these cooperatives so that we improve their confidence levels. Tell me right now, do we have any body that is standing and advocating for cooperatives, that is like ZAMBIA, that is looking at SME, I think that we do not have. So maybe if you look at these other countries, for instance, they have people that are there 24/7, getting to support these cooperatives, harmonization, getting to make sure that every now and then, including all those people that may want to come into the country and invest using cooperatives, who is responsible in ensuring that this is done in a very coordinated manner. I think it is important, because one of the things that we've identified as an institution is that most of the times when we talk about cooperatives, it's all about production. We have produced onion, we have produced watermelon, we have produced this and this. There's no one to buy. There's this one. What about the issues of, organizing the market? Is there a coordinated market that should be able to give an appetite to the growers, to the farmers, so that even as they are growing the products which they are producing, they have an assured market that is going to take the goods that have been produced. So when you have this Cooperative Development Authority, its mandate will not only be able to look at capacity building, not only in the area of production, but it will go further by looking at the area of consumption, in the area of harmonizing the market, in the area of ensuring that whatever is being produced, if it cannot all be consumed under the Zambian people, the market can be opened. Yes, we have the Ministry of Commerce, which is doing wonderful work, but the thing is, I think that for us, our considered view is that we can do much more. And as an organization, we are working on certain concepts which we will not be able to preempt now. We want to come on board and say, look, government has been very generous, and I call it generosity, by giving certain cooperatives money as startup capital. That's generosity, because that's not what a cooperative is. A cooperative should not be registered under the pretext that you're going to receive money from government. If we, the Zambian people, get to have this mindset, I can tell you that the cooperative initiative will not go anywhere. But I think that we must be able to look at support that is coming from government as support that should only be able to come and help us from one level to the next level. But after that, we need to be able to stand on our own and continue doing what we're doing. We are proud, we must say that we're happy as an institution that we have, we have, for instance, CEC. I think that we know what CEC is doing. We're proud of what they are doing. But the issue is that even when CEC come, and they're giving us that support, the question is, will that support always be there? I think no. When you get the support today, tomorrow you give an opportunity for someone else to receive that support. So even as those who will be privileged to receive this support, it is only support that will come to help you. But after that, you need to stand on your own, so that at the end of the day, you begin to realize what benefits are there. So these are some of the challenges that I can be able to talk about, why I think that we are struggling. I will not be able to accept to say that the cooperative model, moderator, that has failed. I think it has not failed. We are learning lessons. So what can we do from those lessons that we are learning? I will not be able to be part and parcel of those who are saying that the cooperative model has failed. To us, I think it has not failed. Let's learn why we are not doing things right.
I'll come to that question. Actually, it is one of the things that we will be discussing this morning. So if you are joining Camnet TV this morning, we are discussing, is the cooperative model in Zambia workable? I know we've received quite a number of reports from those who received CDF funding as a cooperative, where the resources today, if you ask, are nowhere to be seen. So that's why we are discussing this important topic. And in studio, I am joined by Seed Cooperative Union Managing Director, Mr. Simeon Kampata. Moving on to the topic that we are discussing. If you're watching us in the comfort of your home or wherever you are, send us those text messages. If possible, give us that call. Let's get to hear what you think about this particular topic, more especially those who've had an opportunity to benefit from a cooperative. What is it that has been your experience? So maybe if we get to hear from you, we will learn one or two things. But the question that we are asking this morning, is a cooperative model in Zambia workable? Mr. Simeon, when these resources were dispatched, we did hear some parliamentarians like Mr. Mausampa mentioned to say one of the cooperative in his ward, immediately they received those funding, they shared 1,000 each. Upon receiving those resources, they went, sat and we are Tengapoka 1 pin, and they said bye-bye to each other, and they dispersed upon receiving those resources. And then we also heard in Southern Province, someone give us an update to say most of the cooperatives that have received these resources actually have nothing to show off. Even if the auditors today went and said, let's see where you've used these resources, there's nothing to really show off that these resources have worked in this area. So the question is, what do you think the government should do different this year to ensure that cooperatives receiving resources under CDF are sustainable?
Thank you. It's a very good question. For us, first and foremost, we're coming in as technocrats. We're not coming in as, as politicians or just people that make comments. Before we make any comment, we'll look at the comment and be able to understand it. For me, I'll begin by responding in this manner. The two case examples that you have given, those issues that you've given, for us, we would actually consider them as case examples. We actually talk to these people and say, why do you think you did that? We should not laugh at them. I think I already said it to say, look, we are not here to begin to, to laugh at people because they have failed or not. I think that is not our interest. Our interest is to be able to understand what people are going through. Once we understand, then we come and sit on the table and say, how can we do it better tomorrow? That's what leadership is all about. That is what, good institutions should be able to do. And I think that I'll begin by, commenting on Honorable Mao Sampa's case, where he stated that, look, people just shared the money. Well, it is good that we know that happened. And from what happened, I will try after this show to get in touch with Honorable Sampa so that we can even reach out to that group. That group for us becomes our target. We sit with them, we make them understand so that tomorrow they don't repeat that challenge. Tell me, if we begin to look at these institutions, these small groupings that are failing, and then we sit and we're just laughing, are we helping?
No.
We're not helping. Look, at the end of the day, Honorable Mao Sampa is a member of parliament for that area. And I know that even the Honorable himself, he went further to help these people to understand that this money was not only given to you for you to consume. So what is missing there? What is missing is information that should have grounded those people not to share the money because they have the information. Capacity building perhaps was not done. Training was not done. Nothing was done to help these people understand what they were doing. So for us, what we're saying is this, that when such things are happening, especially to our parliamentarians, the honorable members of parliament countrywide, in all 156 districts, what we are asking for is this, that this is the money for the people of Zambia. It is their resources also. The issue should be if we can join hands and make sure that all beneficiaries who are receiving this money are putting this money into good use. I know that is already going on, but we're just adding a voice to lobby that let us, all of us, join hands and ensure that this is being done. Because look, for us as an organization, if we go to Matero and we do not work with Honorable Sampa, do you think that we can be able to help the people of Matero? Not at all. So we are not here to point fingers and laugh at one another, but we're here to say, where there are failures, let's learn what caused that failure. And then in addition to that, let's see how we can do it better tomorrow. In fact, I can even preempt it to you that we have written to the Ministry of Small and Medium Enterprise that, look, I'll repeat what I said. Let it not be your mandate alone to talk about issues of cooperatives. Involve other stakeholders. It is important to ensure that we have this strategic partnership where and this is actually being done, where even members of parliament, are being talked to on a regular basis. I know that those honorable members of parliament, they are our leaders, and we have great respect for them. And I think that Honorable Mubanga is doing something in that regard, where if all members of parliament can be put, can be given an opportunity where they are given basic information. Look at this. Knowledge, we can all say we have knowledge, but it is important to repeat about the knowledge which we're saying we have. Why can't all members of parliament be talked to, given the basic knowledge, basic training on cooperatives. I know they know. But look, we can also learn from them so that when we hear from them, then we can be able to remodel our strategy. When we do that, then we'll confidently be able to say, with what our honorable members of parliament know and with what we know, because we sat in one space and we have exchanged these ideas, even as we go out, we will not only be going out as an institution alone, we will not only be going out as SEED, but any other player who is talking about issues of cooperatives. Because there's this, there's this strategic partnership harmonization process where every stakeholder is being involved in the process. You would find out that there's no one who is going to be left behind. What the honorable members of parliament are doing, that's what even these other institutions are doing. So it is important to appreciate that we work as a team and be able to share the challenges that we are finding, because we can learn from them. Remember, our honorable members of parliament are representing so many people, and these are key in the value chain. And I think that the ministry is doing something about that, and they're already doing it. And we're confidently proud that under the leadership of Honorable Muranga, I think he will be able to make sure that this is actualized. So even us as an organization, when we are given a platform, even whether by the ministry or the media or any other, our message is, can we work together? Understand what we're bringing on the table. Can we also hear you? Can we come together and agree and say, what can each stakeholder do? Look, for Southern Province, you said, even when auditors go on the ground to audit, there's nothing that is showing, there's nothing that is showing. I'll cite an example. Allow me to answer that question for Southern Province with an example. When you go to school, look, is it every time that you only have 100%? In one of the subjects, you can have what? 20%. But that does not mean that you need to give up. What do you need to do? Do more in order for you to pass in that subject. So this is what we're talking about. Where there are challenges, let's sit and look at what are some of the solutions that we can be able to apply in order for us to avoid those challenges. One of the deliberate moves that we've done as an organization is this, that, look, we cannot understand everything. And because of that, we have brought on board and we are working in partnership with institutions such like, SARO. SARO, they're into mechanization, they have equipment. When we go and we find people who want to mechanize in the area of agriculture or adding value to what is being produced, ours is to invite SARO to come on the ground and say, SARO, we have these as people that you can be able to identify as your customers. We've gone further to work with institutions such as NATSEL in the area of ensuring that this spirit of financial literacy is inculcated to as many people as possible. We've gone further now. Look, CEC is on the ground, isn't it? They're giving out these resources. We've gone further also to say, look, CEC, we feel that we can also contribute towards what you're doing. We've gone further to Parliament and many other institutions. Why are we doing that? Because we believe that when we work in a coordinated manner, when we begin to identify that each stakeholder has a part that can be played to be able to help the Zambian people, even as they're implementing, this cooperative philosophy, concept, at the end of the day, our target, all of us as stakeholders, is to see that people are benefiting and their livelihoods are being improved. That's it.
Mr. Kampata, I know time is not on our side. What I understand is cooperatives are a long-term investment which do not give sometimes return in the immediate. I can give an example. Some grouping were forming cooperatives with the idea of starting to keep chicken. And I know if you're given a capital of 20,000, some cooperatives under CDF were benefiting resources, sometimes 20,000, others 40,000, depending on what you want to do. So I'll mainly stick to those who were maybe getting 20,000. Even if I'm to buy birds today to start keeping, it doesn't mean immediately I sell, I'm going to make a profit that we can share as a group. If we are even to get a return from this investment, it will require us to even maybe keep those birds for almost a year. Because if we keep 3,000 this first time, you cannot keep the same 3,000 next time. You want to increase. So as a result, that small profit you receive from this, you have to reinvest it. So we understand that sometimes cooperative are not a short-term investment. It's a long-term investment and requires patience. But the issue that we've been having is Bantu Badina Njala, and they have been told come form cooperative so that you receive money, and then that resource comes, and then they're looking at investing something for almost a year to get a return. Do people have that patience to wait for that 10 years? Others do, if what you said in the first place, there's a common goal that you want to achieve. But where people form a cooperative, that they get resources and start making profit, sometimes you realize that these are the challenges that we are having. So do you think the desire for cooperative members to make fast money and profit is contributing to the failure of these cooperatives in our country?
It's a very good question. It's just that I wish I had an opportunity where you would ask me to ask you a question, but I think it's not there. Being an economist, I'll tell you, when you say it's failure, I'll ask you, where are the statistics that are pointing at the failure rate? That would be the first question that I'll ask you. Where is the study that was done in order for us to appreciate that there's a failure rate? Perhaps maybe to ask also as media to begin helping in getting to disseminate this information in a way that is going to help the people begin to understand that we have not failed. We have an opportunity because of the political will. We have an opportunity even to do better. It's not always easy when you're starting, but with time you'll see the benefits. In answering the question, I think I'll be able to answer it in this way, that when we talk about cooperatives, again it comes back. What are we saying? Are cooperatives long-term investment opportunities, or their medium-term investment opportunities, or their short-term investment opportunities? I think that is where we come in more handy in that respect. There are certain businesses, a cooperative, you can do any business, whether it is a long-term, it is a short-term, and it is a medium-term. Any business that you have agreed as an association, as groupings of these people, any business that you do where you would want to get fast money, you can do it. For instance, I'll give you an example. If today you want to get into a business where it is a trading business, I'll give you an example. CEC, in their packaging, they have a trading facility, isn't it? Trading facility. You get that facility today, tomorrow you start making the money. It's a short-term plan. If one desires to structure, if one cooperative desires to structure their cooperatives in doing certain businesses that are short-term, knowing that their long-term objective is to implement a project that will begin to give them realization to their investment in the next 5 or 10 years, certainly they can be able to structure their operational approaches in such a way that in the immediate they can begin to see return to their investment. So it all depends on what is it that they want to do. How should they be able to do it? That is where the issue is. It is not about getting to talk about long-term projects. Look, there may be long-term projects. For instance, I'll give an example. Allow me to cite an example of what you're advocating for as Camnet. Planting of avocado trees. That's one of the things that I think that we've learned also from Camnet. You know that when you plant these trees, how long will it be able to take for you to begin seeing the benefits? It will take a little while, isn't it? So for these cooperatives that are struggling, that are not doing anything, for these cooperatives, for these people who have come together, and they are saying that we have nowhere to look to, we have nothing to touch, we have nowhere to run to, these become our target group. When we meet them, we sit with them and begin to help them. It is all about mind change shift. Look, I think that we must be able to know that a cooperative is not a begging bowl concept. It is a concept that is telling us to say, let's work as a unit and we can see realization on what we want to do. So that becomes a target for us. So what am I saying, moderator? What I'm saying is, in reference to your question, cooperatives must be able to understand, number one, that it is not all about long-term investment. It can be short-term, it can be medium-term, but what is it that they need? I think what they need is capacity building. What they need is information. Is there adequate information to make them understand so that they are put in a situation where even as they are starting, they will be able to know what they want to do?
In a minute or two, I'm giving an opportunity to make a summary. What is the secret to a successful cooperative? What is the greatest secret to a successful cooperative? I understand you are a cooperative union. Your responsibility, or one of your duties, is capacity building in these cooperatives. And if anything, if I'm to lobby something to government as a media practitioner, and from what we are seeing, the first aspect I would lobby government for is to ensure that every cooperative that is selected for funding undergoes capacity training. That is key. If I'm to lobby to stakeholders, that is one thing that I would lobby to say. When they finish the selection process, before you can issue resources, the first thing that you do is engage institutions like yours to do capacity building so that people really understand. So now, in less than a minute, I'm giving you a chance to conclude. What is the greatest secret to a successful cooperative?
Know what you want to do in a cooperative. Know how you should be able to do it. And then you'll be able to realize the benefit of why you belong in a cooperative. We have an opportunity as people of Zambia where there's this political will. Let's ride on it and break even. Information is key. Knowing what you want to do is key. But you can't know it all. You need other people to come and help you know what you want to do. And that's why SEED is there. That's why many other players are there. And all these players who are there, we know that together we can be able to make a difference by making sure that the people of Zambia, their livelihood is improved.
SEED Managing Director, SEED Cooperative Union Managing Director, Mr. Simeon Kampata, was my guest this morning. And of course, we were discussing, is cooperative model in Zambia sustainable, or is it workable? This is what we were discussing. My greatest take in this interview, in case you're just joining us, this program was actually being streamed live on our Facebook page. You can just go through and listen to the discussion that we've had this morning. Wonderful and powerful submission from Mr. Kampata here. My greatest take from this interview this morning has been, if you want to be a doctor, you cannot just jump from high school to become a doctor. You have to go through particular training for you to do your job effectively. If you have to be a media practitioner like me, of course, he gave an example. You had first to go through training and mentorship for you to do the work that you do perfectly. If you want your cooperative to succeed, there is a process that you have to go through for you to understand why do you exist, what do you want to do, and what do you want to achieve at the end of the day. Without this, it will be almost impossible for a cooperative to be progressive or to make progress. A powerful submission there from Mr. Kampata, who's the Managing Director for SEED Cooperative Union. Till next time, it has been your host, Prudence Chota, my guest, Mr. Kampata, the entire Camnet TV production team. It's bye for now. Let's keep interacting. Continue sending those messages through to our offices. Continue calling us for those breaking news. Continue watching Camnet TV. Remember, Camnet TV is not just another channel. For now, it's bye and God bless you.